Yeah, yeah, really welcome everyone. Lovely to see you wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining us today for this kind of update and recap about the Second Renaissance project and initiative. Um, yeah, we're gonna the kind of presentation or like update part maybe yeah, about 20 minutes, and then we're gonna have some breakouts and go from there. And we've got a little, let me see, let me get this up. Here we go into slideshow mode. I've got the little slideshow. Let me get that up, and I think that should work. There we go. Can everyone see my screen? Taking a moment. Great. So, this is like the Oasis update, as we call it, and I'm not today going to say too much background about the Second Renaissance project itself, and the Second Renaissance idea. If you go to secondrenaissance.net, you can read a bit more about like the vision but I'm going to talk a little bit about the project and the initiative itself, and then we're going to talk about the Oasis. First of all, I just want to say a big welcome from all of us. Different people are going to share during the session today, and not maybe all of the curators are here today, but there's a kind of curators team behind the Second Renaissance initiative, that continues to evolve and people join. And just like there's myself, there's James Baker who can wave, there's Simon Grant, there's Lauren, there's Jonah Wilberg who might want to wave, and there's Danielle. So yeah, so this is really a joint presentation, but also many people have contributed over the last year, including beyond this curators team. So where just to start with, we want to give a little bit of like where we've come from in terms of the initiative. So starting really the Second Renaissance itself as a kind of vision and idea, and even the name, which is has many synonyms, you might say, or at least resonances, metamodern, gameB, liminal web, integral. There are many terms that you could think of that the Second Renaissance is similarly referring to, this time between worlds, a moment of civilizational crisis, we think, and of an awakening, of a renaissance, and a paradigmatic shift in our civilization, culturally and systemically. Um, and the project has kind of older roots, but we formally like launched the project as the Second Renaissance last year in May, um, and we're presenting pre-work of it actually at Limicon last year. So that was like one point. And first of all, there's the narrative that is there, the kind of simple, we hope, relatively simple, more accessible narrative about setting out the kind of four noble beliefs of a second Renaissance. And then there was that. There was the white papers that were launched when the project launched. At least the first white paper, the second one was released in July, August. And then we've also done the mapping, which was released at project launch, and which was the result of actually many years and an evolution of previous work. Maybe people have come across this map. I don't know, maybe just a show of hands with your electronic hand, but how many people have seen maybe the Second Renaissance map, or the map of this emerging broader ecosystem? Yeah. One of the things we love is also people's journey. One of the things we'd love to actually do as a little mini project we haven't got to yet is to maybe crowd collect the journeys people have been on. What different places have they visited on that map? Then, just to say here again, across the whole team, often led by Lauren, Danielle, James, and others, there's been we've now had like 28 calls bi-weekly since last June, of kind of connection calls, workspace calls. I know also like Jason Sears, who's on the call, has been a big contributor to shaping those, and others as well, how we've run those. And then there was a barn raising or collabathon in December 2024, of a kind of postcards, Second Renaissance postcards. We also did a deep resilience in a dark Renaissance practice group, coming together to really look at the crisis, together and what we need to sit with the trouble, led by Lauren and Catherine last year. We also did an Explorer course, first pilot of a session Explorer course to introduce people to these ideas. There's been the launch of the Art Collective and the Art Manifesto, the Second Renaissance Art Magazine, announced and launched the magazine last September, then the launch event for the Art Collective and the Manifesto in January this year. And then there's the Catherine, who's on the call as well, is the lead editor at the moment, the kind of for the Seeds of a Second Renaissance, the newsletter, which kind of shares ideas and news from around the ecosystem. That was we've been sharing kind of ideas and news since last year, but we really formally launched this in January, this new version of it. And you can subscribe to that at news.secondrenaissance.net. And then there's a research and sense-making collective led by Jonah here. I'm also a collaborator there, and Simon Grant. And there's a Knowledge Commons project, liminal lexicon that we're involved in, and like several thought pieces and white papers that are getting produced there. And finally, one of the things that we've really seen or kind of starting to happen is like not only are there online meetups, like there's the community events and the connection calls, but there are local events that have started to just kind of happen. There's one in London, there's been one in Berlin, Toronto, and Boston so far. And that's one of the things we just noticed, like organically, these meetups starting to happen. So, and finally, like we kind of have a forum, and there's been a Discord, but a focus on the forum that started last August, but really properly set up this December, January, and which is now kind of quite active of people sharing ideas, thoughts, and discussions there, forums.secondrenaissance.net. So this is like some of just the kind of organically development since we just first initially started out with this idea of like trying to create a clear vision and a signpost with the ecosystem mapping of this emerging field and region to something, starting to have these local meetups, the forum, and other things. And that's really the segue to what we're going to focus on today, which is the Oasis, the emerging Oasis, as we're terming it. And at this point, I'm going to hand over to uh, James, who's going to share a little bit more. And James, do you want me to keep doing the slides, or would you like to take over the slides?
Thanks. You can keep doing the slides. That feels easier to me. And
Great.
yeah, so we'll go forward a slide. And the Oasis is, yeah, it's one of those things. I'm gonna say like the name almost was kind of like a code name, one of those code name pointers originally, and it is pointing to a specific thing, and then the vibes of the name have been feeling so good that I think we're just gonna roll with that as the actual name. And the thing that we're trying to point to here is that we're here as people and as builders and beers and workers and servants in service of the second Renaissance and of the wider field. And it feels good to name this in part to differentiate it from the idea or the big memeplex of the Second Renaissance, and just say that, hey, this is an instance. We're here. We're not everyone. We're not everything. The field is happening. It's already happening all around us and everywhere. But here's this instance. And so we are coalescing here what has been happening. We're taking all that we've learned and we're kind of putting more of a heart to it. So the imagery of an oasis is that it's light, it's flexible. There may be travelers coming through. There also might be some people that reside there and kind of live there or find some sort of home or belonging there. And we want to embrace and welcome that too. But yeah, it's there are travelers, far and wide, and it's a place of meeting, it's a place of exchange, and the tent metaphor that we'll get to is just kind of a light and flexible structure, agile structures for organizing in dynamic ways. So let's advance a slide. And So we're taking what we've learned from the connection calls and from the workspace calls, and the primary, combination of those is going to be what we're going to call the community calls. The heartbeat, the heart of the body of the what are we all doing here together with these specific people, be the community calls. But there are a couple other maybe major forms. The collabathon slash barn raising slash service projects for collective collectively going deeper into the building side of the Oasis vision. And then the name on number three, convening, gathering, pilgriming, to the field and the connection side represents a collective going deeper in the being and becoming side of this polarity and this integrated holistic vision that kind of represents what are we pointing to with the Oasis. Next slide. So these community calls, which I referred to again as the heartbeat of this, are going to take a design that um, and maybe a few words disappeared. I don't know. Okay, but they're going to be half being and half building. If you come to, and we'll talk about this, Tuesdays, we're going to try to integrate the bothness of being and becoming, but we're going to do this with the first half of these community calls being about connecting, about relating, about building relationships. They'll have a focus on inner development, perhaps through relational practices and kind of attuning to who and how we want to be and how are we a whole together. The second half of these community calls, we're going to focus on the building and wise response, wise response to the metacrisis, wise response to the world that we find ourselves in, and what's the work that we're doing, and what is each of ours to do in this world. But think of a tent village. Think of a little bit of an open space. Maybe think of a bazaar, bazaar, kind of bazaar of, okay, people have their tents and their little places and spaces and resource coordinating and space for dynamic organizing and connecting people that show up in this space with a heart for being of service to the field and to the second Renaissance, and how do they get connected to the work that is already going on? So that is the core shift that we're going to make to kind of merge these things that are already kind of going on into one more cohesive, and I'm going to use the C word, community. I know that's such a weasel word, but it's a place, it's a space of people connecting, being, belonging, and doing together. All right, let's advance slide and talk a little bit more about this. This whole community concept here is not just about being together, but it's really in service of doing and building and what are we doing? So um, the tent metaphor points to lightweight structure. Uh, these tents within the community calls within the oasis are organizing spaces. You can do work there too if you want, but we imagine that most of these tents are like more like the meeting point at the oasis. You exchange, you learn, you meet new people, and maybe most of the work happens elsewhere. This can be for a project, this could be for an organization, could show up and have their own tent at the oasis. And so we imagine just having a structure and enough of a framework there that people can know what's going on, where do I show up, when do I show up if I want to meet with a certain project, or what's going on. So each one of these would have a schedule. They could pitch a tent every week, or have some other, every other week or once a month, or maybe, our organization is we're gonna do a pop-up tent for 3 weeks. just to meet and exchange, like we're a caravan traveling through, and then we're going to keep going off and doing the work elsewhere. So caravan or permanent, semi-permanent, nomadic, however you want to do it, it's just a lightweight structure. We have a list of more or less existing things that we would already put into that bucket on this initial tent list here. And actually, maybe I'll skip them right now because we'll come back and introduce them a little bit more in a few minutes. So, yeah, I
Next slide.
think, yeah, let's next slide and just kind of wrap this up here. To zoom back out, overall, the spirit of the Oasis is communing, being, and doing, building, attuned to the field. And yeah, just always holding this distinction that there's, okay, the idea, the vision of second Renaissance, wiser, weller world, more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible, that's out there. And we are attuning to it and in service of that. And it's already happening all around us. But the oasis is going to be a place, a space of finding the others and flowing into action in various ways. And as a space, as a congregating, as a gathering of people communing and being some form of community together, we intend to be together as well and hold space for inclusively integrating polarities, such as being and doing. One classic polarity, right? Always intention, and a polarity is not something that you solve or resolve one way or the other. It's a tension that you hold and that you continually, it works you and you integrate it. So, integrating polarities, holding space, becoming more spacious ourselves, and the inner work that connects to the outer work of being in service. So, just a few more kind of spirit and essence words on what we're aiming for, and how the kind of energy that we want to hold in this evolution into the Oasis space. There we go. Pass back. I don't know who I'm passing to now.
It's okay. Well, I can just to say, so what, thank you so much, James. And as I said, this is a joint effort of all the curators. So first, having we'll get a moment to kind of ask more questions. We want to first say, just if you're interested in like coming to this call, how can you get more involved? How can I get involved? And you just want to find out, the first thing is just want to find out more. You want to connect with the Second Renaissance and the Oasis. Come to the community calls, which will start like kind of we're rebooting them in this new form, but starting next Tuesday, April the 8th at 6 p.m. European, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And there's the link, and you can also find it just from secondrenaissance.net/events. You can find the link to the calls. We'll put this also in the chat for you. What we're going to do though now is give people a chance to find out more about the tents. I think we've got more than we're going to actually have an art tent as well here. So we're going to open breakout rooms, and you can move between breakout rooms. I want to emphasize here. I'll say a bit. I'm going to stop sharing here for a moment, but basically we're about to open some breakout rooms, and if you want to kind of find out more, and I think we're going to have also one extra breakout room, which is just like if you wanted to create a tent, if you wanted to be like, I want to pitch a tent in the Oasis on this topic. I want to create a tent for people who are interested in, permaculture and the second race, or just permaculture, this kind of topic, or like, how do we feed the world? Or I want to tent about economics, or I want to tent about, contemplative practices. They might fit within the existing tent, or you might want your own tent. That's also great. So what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to open some breakout rooms. Before we do that, we might go around. We're going to go around very quickly and have like the current like tent hosts say a little bit about that topic, so you can decide if you want to visit that tent and find out more, and say whether like to come along. And the other aspect I want to emphasize there is that you can go to multiple rooms. You'll be able to move between breakout rooms so you can explore different tents a bit and find out more about them. So I don't know, Danielle, would you be willing just to share first, say a little bit about the field building tent? That would be awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, those of you who know me know that I've been working on helping to kind of build this liminal field in the last many years. And so, and I know there's lots of other people out there doing this work. So the field building tent will just be a place for us to come together to share those ideas and talk about those things and see how we can collaborate on that. I'm going to be specifically working this year on doing interviews and talking to people and listening to the field through something we're calling a field study, but that might be a gameB kind of term. But yeah, had a meeting with a couple of groups and yeah, we'll be working on that kind of stuff in the field building tent.
Great. And so, yeah, go hang out, go check that out in a moment when we open the breakout room. And that'll also be happening. The whole point is you can also, if you come to the community call and we'll be announcing, there'll be like regular call times. So I'm going to put on the, Catherine, would you say a little bit just about the newsletter and the news tent, if you want people want to come and find out there? Yeah.
Yeah, so in short, the Seeds of a Second Renaissance newsletter, which the first issue went out this February, the kind of two main aims are to make some of the ideas, the core ideas of the Second Renaissance related landscape more accessible. And the other, I hope my internet connection is good enough. The other kind of intention of the newsletter is to help people keep people updated on what are the key events or key offers, links, and resources happening in the ecosystem. So yeah, people are interested to contribute in the newsletter in some ways or have ideas, then happy to chat about that.
Great. Okay. And then Jonah, would you want to say a little bit about the research and sense making and knowledge commons tent?
Sure. Yeah, so I guess this is more for people inclined to ideas and research. We've had a variety of different things going on in this existing forum, which is from the evolution of a research group that's been going on for some time. Exploring questions like what is cultural evolution? What is the second renaissance? But also sort of more experiential practices at times, maybe things like action research. And yeah, we have a sort of regular meeting currently at 5 p.m. on Fridays, and you're welcome to propose a topic or a way of hosting or a presentation you'd like to do.
Just to check, was it for me or just anyone else that Jonah was a little bit robotic? A little bit robotic. Okay, Jonah, you might want to check when you host your 10. But just for people, there's actually a very active research and sense making group meets weekly at a Friday. And people, one of the exciting things, you can come, maybe not the first time you show up, but you can come and present. And we have people come and give talks, or you can present your, maybe you're working on a paper or you're researching something. So it's a great place to come and try something out. It's very friendly. And, there's also the forum as well. Okay, Sylvie, the art tent. Would you be willing to say a little bit about the art tent?
Hello, everybody. So for people who are interested in art and culture making in that realm, you should come to my tent because it's going to be the most fun one. Uh, Basically, we'll do probably a once a month call where we'll present an artist. So it can be presenting our own work, our own artworks, or possibly like an artist that you found that you think their work is really amazing and is very aligned with the manifesto of the Second Renaissance. And, hopefully also sparkling some conversation about organizing some artist residency and making art and exhibitions and other things like that. But yeah, and so, artists are the cool kids.
Great. Yeah,
You're
they
muted.
are the cool kids. You only have to. But okay, so the last tent would be there's a Give Wiser tent, which is about this new project that we've just actually James and I and others and Kevin Triplett. I'm not sure if he's here today, but Kevin has been I know he's been around Limicon quite a bit. our kind of seeding, which is about like what kind of philanthropy and taking a bit of inspiration from effective altruism. I don't know if you know Give Well project, which was a key project starting out in like effective altruism, but what would be wise giving and how could we channel more resources into the kind of the wisdom area and the second renaissance and associated areas. And yeah, so that's a tent I will be hosting. So if you're interested in, wise giving, both on a personal or a general level, come along to that. And Lauren will be hosting a tent here just for people who want to either pitch tents or just want to hang out and they're not sure which tent to go to yet. And so I don't know, Lauren, are we ready to go with the breakout rooms? Great. Let us manifest the breakout rooms and we'll be back. Just before we do that, last thing, any questions before we do that? Or they're open, I think. Great. No, not quite yet.
Sorry, I was a bit too quick.
You were great, but if there's any question, just stay here in the main room for a moment. If you've got a question, you're uncertain about anything, and we can handle it. But otherwise, zoom off, please. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much I hope you enjoyed your tent experience. Who got to go to, like, maybe not every room, but who got to go to one room? Just put your hand up, electronically or otherwise. Who got to go to 2 rooms? Yeah, Tasha, great. Like Karine. Who got to go to 3 rooms? Martin, great. Like this was part of the invitation. Some people, and Florian, that's fantastic. Okay. Just want to say, is there anyone who wanted to surface anything? Like, I just want to have a couple of minutes. If there's anyone that, like, anything that came up for them, or like an insight, or anyone, a host, want to say something they got out of suggestions in their room. I just want to open the floor just for a moment. If there's any.
Recording in progress.
Very good. Yeah, is there anyone who'd like just to kind of flag something they got, or that they're like, oh man, I really want to pitch a tent, or anything like that would like to say before we kind of come to our like checkout and invitation to participate, how you can just remind how you can get involved.
And just to re-raise one question here from, kind of pitching a tent. Somebody was saying like, oh, I might want to do this thing, but maybe this thing fits in the field building tent, and maybe I should go there and do that instead of doing my own thing. And I just want to share my response to that, which is like, whatever makes sense, whatever works. These are intended to be like liberating structures here. And so if it makes like, if the people are over there that you want to work with, go there, be with the people. If there's something that like, oh, it makes more sense to be in a separate breakout room, even a separate space, like, oh, plant a flag and see who wants to work with you there. And there is not one place to, that owns anything in particular, and kind of recognizing the networked and distributed nature of field building and every other part of the field. And pivot easily and rapidly. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, great. And so just anyone else with anything they like to share? I didn't actually track which was the most popular. Not that it's a thing, but we had the tents, I think, that I noticed that in the end, I think there was a field building. I noticed that there was a lot of interest in research and sense making. I think that's great. And as well in the art, I mean, I noticed there's a flow all over the place. Thank you very much, everyone. First of all, I would just to check in, like, just so it's a reminder, I think, Lauren, if we could put in the chat, just because I know it was in the presentation, but people might not, we might try and send it out. If you did register, by the way, a bonus, maybe you come in directly. Most people should have registered via Luma, but we will send out probably an email, a follow-up email with like the slides and some follow-up material. So if you haven't actually registered on the Luma thing, it's one reason to do so is rather than sending it to everyone, we'll send it there. There's also, if we could put a link to the secondrenaissance.net Oasis, the actual link to the URL, it's live. I haven't yet put it in the navigation menu, but it has a bit of detail about like when the meetings, we'll be adding more links so you can kind of how you register. If you want to go to the art meeting monthly, how you do that. If you want to go to the thing. I don't know if Catherine's still here, but like the news, by default at the moment is to post, if you want to get things into the newsletter and you want to help out, there's join the Life Itself community WhatsApp and join the events subgroup. events link subgroup. But just things like this, we'll put more information in. But first of all, the big thing to remember, if you're interested, maybe you can't make next Tuesday, but it will be every Tuesday. But next Tuesday will be the particularly kickoff where we kind of organize things, take input. Tuesday, April the 8th at the same time as today, whatever time zone you're in, will be led by, I think, James and Lauren will be the community call, half being, half building. And there's a bonus if you can do a great, if you wanted to visualize that as a human being, the perfect integration of being and building. And the other thing is just that we'll be the list of tenses on the secondrenaissance.net/Oasis. Okay, I just want to check, are there also any questions? Anyone with a burning question or thing they wanted to ask about out of all of this? I know we haven't had a general open session for questions yet. That's fine if you don't, but Atasha, go for it. Wonderful.
Yeah, I just think I brought this up in two different tenses. I was in questions regarding artificial intelligence right now, where it is now and where it's headed. And that just feels to me that based on my research, that's going to increasingly become unfathomably relevant to all of these groups. So I'm just curious if there's any attention on that, or does that feel like something that, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's several ways that could be read, but certainly even like in the research and sense-making group, like the impact on society is a very active area of interest for many of us. Actually at the Life Itself gathering that just happened, and that's the, so absolutely. And there's obviously the use of artificial intelligence in facilitating things. Kaireen, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, I have a quick question, and oh no, I forgot it for a second. Now I remembered. Where is this recording going to be at? Is that going to be on the Second Renaissance website?
Yes, this will go up, and I think it might go in a mail out as well if you're subscribed to the Second Renaissance or newsletter. But yes, we'll try and put this recording out so that people can find out more, and probably on the secondrenaissance.net/Oasis page, we might have this like, introducing it. There is
Thank you, because I missed the first 20 minutes, so I appreciate that.
Great question. Any other questions before we get a moment to like kind of check out? And Lauren, I think it might be great if we could open breakout rooms for three, like if 2 or 3 people, actually 2 people would be great if you could set that up. Wonderful. So actually, maybe do I want that? What I would love is maybe we could give people 2 to 3 minutes just in a room. If we open them in a moment, Lauren, just to be like, and it will be really short 2 minutes, so 1 minute each, just like, what are you leaving with today? What inspired you? What do you take you forward? What do you remember? Whatever it is, and maybe wish each other well. And then we'll just come back to the room and just get to say our loving goodbyes in a moment. So let's open those, Lauren. 2 minutes. Just what are you leaving with? One room on their own, maybe we should join them if somebody doesn't get someone.
I just moved someone, I think. Yeah, everybody should have someone now.